Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Friday night edition of Rock Solid Sports. I'm your host, Jack Foster, joined alongside Griffin Hadley, who's producing tonight. And across the glass, we have a loaded show for you guys tonight. We have Riley Haltom and Justin Clemmer, per the usual. They're part of the Friday Five. But we also have special guest Bryson Wright, an old-timer. He's back in the house. Bryson, how we doing?
I'm doing good. I don't like that you call me old, though. I'm not that old. I'm only like a year older than you. Let's chill out on that.
Well, you're
I'm glad to be back, though.
You're an esteemed RSS
we got
veteran.
Unk back here.
Yeah, there we go. Like Josiah Jordan James over there, right? Yeah. But we're going to have a fun show tonight. It's my final show as host of Rock Solid Sports. So
the GOAT.
It's a special one for me.
Man. Last show for the GOAT. Got to bring in the big guns. Bryson Wright across the glass.
I know, man. Where's Joseph Bonanno and Jackson Williams? That's all I'm saying. They were supposed to be in-house tonight. We were supposed to bring it back, but they flaked out. At least Bryson's here. Riley's here. He's been doing it with me for a long time. Of course, Griffin and Justin as well. So we're going to have a fun show. It's Football Friday.
Yep.
On Fridays, we talk football. That's how we do it here. And Griffin, regular season's over, so you know what that means. The transfer portal is going crazy right now. And, you know, Tennessee, not a bunch of big news so far regarding Tennessee football and the transfer portal, but definitely some notes. So Tennessee has had 6 players enter the portal, and the most notable one probably came today.
Has to be.
And that is Tyler Barron, defensive end Tyler Barron. Of course, started last season. I believe he has 1 year of eligibility remaining. This is a graduate transfer. What was your initial reaction to Tyler Barron entering the portal? By the way, it's now the second year in a row this has happened. Of course, he came back to Tennessee last season. It was only in the portal to really just grab a cup of coffee, but he's back in now.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by this one, just because with 1 year left, and he's a Knoxville guy. And so he came back home to play again under Heupel. And it just seems that why would he do it again? And it seems like, okay, is this a money grab? He had a really good season. Will he be able to increase his value? Because if I'm going to be honest, Jack, I feel like that's the case for a lot of guys around the country. I saw a really good tweet from Knoxville 24/7 CBS coordinator Wes Rucker, and he said, if you're an offensive lineman and you're semi-decent at football, go into the portal and go get paid. Because right now the defensive line talent is so good across the country. We see it in the NFL. We see it in college football. And the NIL value is going up. And this portal is just more and more relevant, and it's more and more chaotic. And that's what we see in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball, on the defensive line, and as well on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm sure you'll talk about that too, with several Tennessee offensive linemen entering the portal.
Yeah, before we do that, I want to get the guys in the Fishbowl's reaction
sure.
to Barron entering the portal. I don't think it's necessarily a big deal, as Caleb Herring should take a step in his sophomore season. Didn't see a lot of Herring this season, but he should be a really good pass rusher. We know James Pierce is coming back and Josh Joseph, so it's not like it's a huge loss, but one to, obviously one of note so far.
Yeah, for sure. I do think I agree with what Griffin said. It could be something where he's just trying to see what his value is.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like free agency in the NFL, Maybe he will decide to come back to Knoxville, but I think that this is just like how college football is at this point. You're going to have a lot of guys that might enter the portal, may or may not come back, but they're just trying to see what their value is on the open market. And maybe that's what he can do to come back to Tennessee and say, hey, this school is offering me this much. Can you do the same?
Yeah.
And maybe then he'll decide to come back. But I think Tennessee does have, they have the financial backing to probably offer what a lot of the other schools are offering too. So We'll see exactly what happens. But that's what I would say for now. I do think, like you guys said, he's from Knoxville. I think he'd want to stay here for at least for 1 more year and run it back.
Yeah, we'll see. And as I said, Tyler Barron's a heck of a player, but he's not someone like we know what Tyler Barron is now, Griffin.
We totally do.
We know what he is.
We talk about these veteran guys, especially 5th or even 6th year guys. We almost know what their potential is. And I love that you brought up Herring taking a step next year, because it's almost like a young guy could take a step in development and explosiveness and athleticism and be just as good, if not better, than Tyler Barron. So that's kind of where I think this team is at. And I think especially where this team will go once these Heupel recruiting classes continue to roll in.
And Riley, another area of the defense that has taken a hit as far as transfers leaving is the secondary. And this is an area I think Tennessee should target in the transfer portal. We've seen them use the same guys for a couple of seasons now. And outside of Kamal Haddon kind of having a breakthrough, year this year before injury, none of them have really gotten a lot better. They've all just been who they were. And 3 of those guys have now left via the portal so far. That's Danico Slaughter, Warren Burrell and Brendan Turnage, all graduate transfers. So your thoughts on Tennessee's secondary right now, and do you agree with me in that they should go after some DBs in the portal?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen them have success going after DBs in the portal. You look at like Gabe Judy Lally this season, who is outside of Kamal Hadden, easily been probably the best part of that Tennessee secondary. So I definitely think that's a place they need to target. I think they've had success there already, so they're going to look to replicate that going forward. I mean, you look at guys like the way Danico Slaughter was playing, Brandon Turnage and Warren Burrell, like you said, kind of have just been there. They've just been there. They haven't really gotten much better. Their game hasn't really improved. So now it's going to be a matter of trying to see if they can get an upgrade there. And I think, losing them, you're going to miss the veteran leadership and the familiarity with the system. But it's not a huge loss, right? Because you're going to be looking for so you're going to be looking to upgrade there anyway. It's tougher depth, but other than that, the Vols have a chance to improve here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a team who rotates cornerbacks so often. You'll see 5 or 6 on the field, and losing these guys, I mean, we're going to be thin. I mean, if we don't get some transfers, like you said, we're kind of going to go into next season blind in a position where we've seen, the whole group be terrible at seasons at a time. So absolutely.
Yeah. And Slaughter, as I mentioned, Slaughter, Burrell, and Turnage all gone. Griffin, there's another name that has entered the portal, and he has never made a big impact at Tennessee. He's only been on campus, I believe, 2 seasons. But this is a guy I thought had a lot of upside. He was the first 4-star commit of the Josh Heupel era. That's offensive lineman Addison Nichols. He's a guy who came in, changed positions almost immediately to become a center. They had him taking playing backup center, if you will, to Cooper Mays. But then this year, you had the Cooper Mays injury. They slot Ollie Lane over. There was just never quite the opportunity for Addison Nichols to get playing time, and now he enters the portal. But to me, this is a sizable hit to Tennessee's offensive line depth. This is another area, I think, second to the secondary, that Tennessee is pretty weak at when it comes to depth and solid depth. But Addison Nichols in the portal, your reaction?
Yeah, and Jack, I appreciate you throwing it to me because Addison's actually one of my best friends in the athletic department. I talked to Addie a little bit about his decision. It was just came down to the matchup, and it came down to the situation. And sometimes it's NIL based, sometimes it's playing time based. But I think for Addison, it was just all encompassing. I think it was enter the portal and explore your options. Because if you look at the Tennessee offensive line and you look at the way Heupel and whoever has been offensive coordinator or Coach Ellerby has decided who's played on the offensive line, it's been seniors, 5th years, and even 6th years. And Addison being a redshirt freshman, next year be a redshirt sophomore, it just seemed like it was so far away from getting that everyday starting role. And so I think a lot of the offensive linemen around the country, especially those high-rated coming into college guys that might not see the field for a year or 2, they're going to explore their options and where they can go play. Where they can make some money and make a name for themselves as far as trying to get drafted in the future. Because, with just 1 year under your belt, that can be risky and it can be tricky if you get hurt. So I know Addison got some time against Vanderbilt because of injury, but I think when it comes to offensive linemen, it's a matter of, okay, can I go get paid? And where can I go get playing time? Because it's very, very difficult to get playing time in the SEC as far as the offensive line goes.
Well, yeah, because I think offensive line is arguably the toughest position to really get that starting position. You got to have a lot of chemistry with the other guys on the O-line and everything like that too. So they don't really rotate those guys a ton usually. So it can be hard for guys to get reps, especially if you're a redshirt freshman, like you said. So not surprising that he would look and enter the portal. And there's probably other places where maybe he could start or maybe even get a guaranteed starting position. They've got a lot of good O-linemen still, but we'll see what happens. I think it's another thing like you guys are talking about. This is just how college football is going to be. People are going to enter the portal. They're going to check out their options a lot more often. So I could still see him coming back, but I get why he would, check out and see what else is out there too.
Mm-hmm. And shout out Jackson Williams for trying to call and get on the show. Unfortunately, you'd think at me hosting 3 years, I'd know how to put a caller on air, but I don't. So sorry, Jackson. Appreciate you calling, but I'm too inept, bro.
It's one of these
just how it is.
It's one of these buttons on here.
Look, I'm not going into radio, so it's no big deal, right? He may be calling again.
He's calling again.
He'll probably try to explain it to me if I answer. So I want to talk about something else, though, and it goes into what we're talking about with NIL, with competition, with transfer, all this stuff. just a little bit on the recruiting side of things, though. Jordan Seaton, 5-star offensive lineman, was the highest remaining offensive lineman that hadn't committed yet in the 2020
recruit.
Oh,
just
okay.
in general.
There you go.
He was just number 1.
Yeah, top overall player left in the 24 cycle. Looked like everything was pointing to Tennessee and that he was going to become a Vol, but last second commits to Colorado completely out of left field. Colorado didn't even make a short list of favorites, but Deion gets it done and snipes the 5-star offensive lineman from Josh Heupel and staff. Riley, what was your reaction to Seaton choosing the Buffs?
Yeah, you said he sniped him from the Vols. That rifle was made out of dollar bills. I'm sure he got paid quite a bit of money to go play with Prime over in Colorado, over in Boulder. And, he had an interesting reason for doing so. And I can see there being a reason, that being a reason why you'd want to go play for Prime. But it's just tough because it's up to these kids to decide where they want to go play ball. And if that's where he wants to go play ball, that's where he wants to go play ball. And it wasn't going to work out here. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. So, best of luck to him over in Colorado, but you're gonna be missing out playing in bowl games over here with the Orange in Neyland Stadium. So that's all I got to say about it.
Well, I think so many players have left Colorado, right? And it freed up some of that money.
Yeah.
So they just splurged on Seaton and
on the number 1 guy. Yeah. Literally, not just the number 1 offensive lineman. They had to have just thrown everything.
By the way, second time Deion has done this.
Yes.
Second time he's done this. He did it at Jackson State with Travis Hunter.
Right.
And now he's done it again with Jordan Seaton.
Well, I'll also say another thing. When you also have a school where Deion Sanders, near the end of the season, literally said, we need new offensive linemen. Like,
it was atrocious how bad their O-line was.
Their O-line is horrible. Like, he will be the second that he walks into practice. Like, if he started practicing right now, he's the best offensive lineman on the team, probably.
Yeah.
100%. So
100%.
he's instantly going to start. That's another thing. So it's the money, instantly starting, wants to play with Deion, all the media coverage and all that. I could see how that can be enticing to somebody, but it was just so out of left field because it wasn't even on, like you said, it wasn't even on the short list of teams, So
right.
Colorado wasn't even on the list. So I think that just also shows that we need to stop putting so much stock in the stuff that 17-year-olds say, because as everybody has been 17 before, you change your mind a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, to me, it's just college football is in a crazy place right now. I mean, y'all talk about all these guys Colorado didn't get, and they pulled all that money into this guy. Like, he pretty much got a max contract is what it sounds like. I'm really excited to see what these NIL numbers look like.
What I'll say about the portal, too, is I was talking to my weights coach the other day, and it's just that college athletics has this professional influence now. And so when you think about a guy like Seaton committing to Colorado, not necessarily out of left field, but it's just interesting because it's almost confirming a starting job the moment he walks in the building. And also, he could have easily been like, I need a dollar amount. This is what I'm getting from other schools. And Deion made it happen. So it's pretty unbelievable the way that it's kind of moving away from, you're picking a coaching staff, you're picking a place you want to be, to financials, playing time. How do I get to the league ASAP? And that's just the way that college athletics, especially college football, is moving.
Yeah, and another example of that, I mean, not necessarily in the same realm. I don't think this had to do as much with money or anything like that. Maybe, of course, probably a little bit. But Jonathan Eccles, one of the top commits from Tennessee's 2024 class, has been committed to Tennessee for a good while. Actually committed to Tennessee when Alex Golesh was still on staff, and that's why he flipped to USF, I would imagine. So he did that today, flipping to Alex Golesh and USF. He was going to be, I thought, a great tight end on campus with Ethan Davis. That would have been a pretty good duo for years to come. But Jonathan Eccles going to USF, it's unfortunate. I don't think it's a major deal considering the position he plays. And, you don't really think a tight end can have this huge impact on a Josh Heupel offense. At least I don't think so. It's a big deal, but not a major deal.
Yeah, and you think about what a tight end could do in this offense, and it seems like a tight end that's efficient at blocking and a tight end that is a very good pass catcher could be successful, but we don't even know that yet.
Yeah,
we don't. And so I think we've seen speedsters be very successful. Obviously, Jalen Hyatt was so good. Cedric Tillman's so good. Squirrel White trying to find his own. And it seems like a system tight end, like a Jacob Warren, or even a player who might be able to elevate the play of someone like Jacob Warren and McClellan Castles. It just seems like that's the type of player that we need to plug in. Maybe not a star tight end in the Josh Heupel system.
Yeah.
No. Saying a dirty work tight end. That's what I hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Dirty work tight end.
Yeah. Put him at fullback sometimes.
I do have
like a Princeton Fant type of guy. I thought he was great 2 years ago.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I do have a stat here, or a trend, I should say, from my coworker Ryan Shepard. Tweet this out today. It's good.
I just saw this
good
on
thing.
Twitter.
Since Alec Ablin, who's the current tight ends coach of Tennessee, took over as Tennessee's tight ends coach, the Vols have failed to land targets Jaden Riddell, Amir Jackson, Max LeBlanc, and Roger Salapaga. Now the Vols' lone tight end commit and Jonathan Ankles has flipped to USF. They did get McAllen Castles out of the portal, but yeah, it's maybe a concerning trend. We'll see how that plays out. Just one to note, though. But let's move forward here. Let's talk about the bowl game. Tennessee learned their bowl opponent on Selection Sunday, as everyone does. They'll be playing Iowa. And I know what everyone thought when they saw Tennessee, Iowa. Woo,
woo, yeah. Points.
Offense.
Shootout.
Wrong.
Lord.
Wrong. This is a game where, guys, you just got to, especially if Joe Milton starts, you just got to put on your sickos hat and dive in, because this is going to be probably some ugly football.
And what's
not going to be fun.
And what's the start time? Like,
it's a 1 kick.
1 o'clock kick on a Monday.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
January 1, baby.
You're waking up from the new year.
35.5 over under.
Festivities.
Whew, doesn't get me better than that. But Iowa, obviously, great defense, one of the best defenses in college football. Historically bad offense.
Yep.
And we'll see what Tennessee can do against them. I will say the only 2 teams that Iowa's played this year where it was top 15-ish competition, or even top 5 in Michigan's case, Michigan and Penn State, they lost those games 26-0 and 31-0. So they couldn't score either game against above average teams. Now, maybe you think Tennessee's nowhere close to Penn State or Michigan. I'm not going to argue against that, but I do think they're closer to those schools than they are the Nebraska and Minnesotas of the world. I think we can all agree on that. So
yeah, agreed.
I am leaning Tennessee early in this game. I think they'll be able to put up some points. Obviously not 30. I don't think they're getting there, but this Iowa offense is really bad. I feel bad for Tennessee's defensive staff having to watch all this tape all month. But Griffin, what's your early lean for this game, and how do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I like your early thoughts especially, and I'm leaning towards, I think it's an exciting opponent for Tennessee to end their season. Based on the season Tennessee has had, obviously losing 4 SEC games, I think Iowa is a very interesting opponent, because if Tennessee gets off to an offensive roll against a really good defense, this game could be really fun for fans wearing orange and white. It could be really fun, because Tennessee has the potential on the offensive side of the ball for fireworks, for big plays, for a really solid run game. And then I think Tennessee's defense is competent enough to be able to pull away from the Hawkeyes. Now, we've seen Tennessee play down to their competition, playing close games. Obviously, we've seen it all year. But my early thoughts, very similar to yours, Jack, are that leaning Vols early. And I think if they find literally anything on the offensive side of the football in the first 30 minutes of the game, I think it could definitely lean Tennessee's way.
Riley, Justin, Bryson, anything to add about Vols Hawkeyes coming your way January 1?
Yeah, so I'll agree with you guys. I'm definitely leaning towards Tennessee in this game. I do know Iowa has a really good defense and all, but I just feel like when you look at the 2 teams, even though Tennessee's offense has struggled, I think they are more capable of putting up some points. We have seen them put up points at times. Like, go back to the first half against Alabama. Like, we've seen them do that, right? So I think we've seen a lot more from their offense. Now, the real thing is going to be, can they be consistent for the full 48 minutes? That's been the question the entire season. But I do think, like you guys said, if they get off and, if they score on the first drive, that might be all they need. Like, you know what I mean? They might just need 7 points. So if they can get off to a good start, I think they'll definitely win it.
Bryson paused for a second. He said, been watching too much hoops, bro. It's still football season.
It is still 60 minutes.
Why?
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. You're so right.
I know it's basketball season.
It's basketball
for you,
season for me, y'all. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
What's the Grizzlies' record right now, anyway?
Hey, we don't got to talk about that.
What is it? Just tell me. Just humor me.
They're 6-14, but 3-1 in the last 4. Hey, making it up.
I guarantee
the season doesn't start till John Morant comes back anyway.
12 is right around the corner.
Have you watched all 640 minutes, Bryson?
Grizzlies? Most of them. I couldn't watch the end of the Lakers game. It was pretty bad. But there's been a couple times I had to turn it off. But I've watched at least 600 of the 640, like you just said.
Plus their G League team.
A little bit
the
of
Hustle. Is that their name?
Yeah. They got a couple good players. Shout out Gigi Jackson.
Yeah, they let go Kennedy Chandler, so they're dead to me though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It looks like a tough decision now too.
But all right, we're gonna take a quick break here on Rock Solid Sports. When we come back, we may get in a little basketball talk, certainly some NFL talk, and we got to talk about the college football playoff too.
We have to.
It's the most polarizing topic in sports right now. It feels like. But we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, hitting all those and more on Rock Solid Sports.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 9th season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. Allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, go Vols basketball.
The Rock thanks Fieldhouse Social, the Wednesday home for Rock Solid Sports, for their support. American craft food, beer, and cocktails, plus a 25-foot big screen at University Commons Way. Fieldhouse Social welcomes sports fans and others alike to enjoy dishes like the citrus marinated chicken, grilled Faroe Island salmon, and smoked ribs. FieldhouseSocial.com or on Twitter and Facebook.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pre- and post-game location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the shows live from 7 to 8 p.m. at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allballs.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Hey kids, it's Derek
and Rob from the Funhouse.
Brought to you each Friday night by Raven Records and Rarities, located at 1200 North Central in Happy Hollow.
Join us each Friday as we kick off your weekend with classics from bands like The Descendants, The Stooges, My Morning Jacket, Mudhoney.
Newer stuff from Amel and the Sniffers, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Wet Leg, and Turnstile. You'll also catch some local stuff.
Hip-hop, Americana, metal.
Who knows? We don't even know half the time.
Every Friday at 8 o'clock, right here on 90.3 The Rock.
Hey, Jimmy from Out Loud Knock. How would you describe the show?
Music, blah, 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 blah.
The Funhouse is co-sponsored by your downtown destination, ScruffyCity.com.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into the Friday night edition of Rock Solid Sports here on WTK The Rock. I'm your host, Jack Foster, joined alongside Griffin Hadley, Riley Holtum, Justin Clemmer, special guest Bryson Wright running it back with us tonight. And I do believe that we may have Rock Solid Sports Hall of Famer, former sports director Joseph Bonanno on the phone. If I've figured this out, he should be on the line. Joseph, are you here?
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, sir.
Got it.
We got a full 6 on the show.
All right, Joseph, did FSU get jobbed? Give it to me. Should Bama be in? Should Florida State be in? What's your take?
So, in my belief, the college football playoff is about who's the most deserving from that season. Doesn't matter what you did last year. Doesn't matter what you did the year before. It matters what you did in the year that season is being played. So, yes, Florida State did get screwed. And I said this on the show I produced here in Nashville, Blaine and Mickey, is that there was no way that the college football playoff was going to leave Bama out if they had upset Georgia in the SEC championship game in the final 14 playoff, and that ended up that ended up being what happened, and FSU kind of got the short end of the stick there. I do believe that they should have been in, and honestly, I think they should have done an emergency 16 playoff just to get them in because they deserved it.
Who do you take out, Joseph? Who do you take out?
What do you mean?
Like, if you put Florida State in, who do you take out?
I think you got to leave out Bama. You got to leave out the SEC. They were not as strong. They were not as strong as a conference as they usually are. So you can't say that they're the most dominant conference because we saw what the Pac-12 did. We saw what the Big Ten did. Heck, Florida State was 2-0 against the SEC this year, beating both Florida and LSU. And I know those aren't the Georgia and Alabamas, but that's still a 2-0 record. So I think you would have had to leave the SEC out, honestly. And, that sucks to say. And here's my biggest issue with the Florida State thing is that you told me all year long that Georgia was the number one team, was the best.
Which they were.
Right.
Which they were.
Right.
And they lose one game to Alabama, and then they drop below Florida State. So now you're expecting to tell me that Florida State is not good enough to beat Texas or Alabama, but they're good enough to beat Georgia? It doesn't make any sense. So
yeah,
it's not necessarily the decision. It's just the lack of consistency on the decision of which teams they put in.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And FSU at 5, I don't really know why they did it. I just think they knew the backlash was going to be crazy no matter what, so they didn't put them at 6. It's like, why you jumped us all the way to 6?
They did it because they felt bad.
Yeah, I honestly think it was. They put them at 5. It's like, okay, you were just one spot out, Yeah, Florida State got screwed. This has never happened in the history of the CFP. As Joseph said, it should be the most deserving, and that's what the committee's done. I don't give a crap about their criteria. They've never followed it. They've never actually lived up to putting the best 4 teams in. It's never happened.
And in the year that it matters most, because this is the most deserving teams have ever been. Like last year, there was really only 4 teams. There was 7 teams that could have gone in this year.
Exactly.
With Georgia, Ohio State, and Florida State.
Yeah.
There's 7 teams that deserve to fight for a national championship, and you're not going to let a team that did everything in their power to make it, everything in their power,
they passed every test,
did not lose a game, did not lose a conference championship, beat the SEC. You cannot say anything else. You literally can't.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But Bama money, SEC. What was the ESCCPN?
It just means more. It just means more.
I don't subscribe to any.
It just means more dollars.
I don't think they're, maybe, but I just think the committee went with the better team. And I think TCU kind of scarred people because you put a team in that isn't as good, and then you have the national championship.
But people forget Michigan. Yeah, people forget TCU beat Michigan that year.
I know
they got destroyed. Anybody would have got destroyed by Bama.
I don't know. I mean,
Georgia.
Pound for pound, Georgia's probably beating Florida State. Alabama's probably beating Florida. Alabama's probably beating Florida State.
No one's taking Florida State.
It just comes down to they did everything in their power to have a shot.
But I agree with Joseph.
What other playoff in any other sports, any other division is about what teams make the most the most entertaining games? None. College football, Division I, the national championship, the college football playoff is the only playoff that matters about how entertaining you are.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, it's about what you did on the field.
Yeah, we might have to watch the Steelers in the playoffs this year.
No, not after last night.
Maybe not.
Not after last night. They're on the way down.
Anyway, yeah, and I'm glad this kind of happened in a way because, we're going to 12 teams next year, and the 4-team model was so ridiculous because you had 5 Power 5 conferences that you're all valuing
It's
equally.
unbelievable.
And now we have a year to where all 5 Power 5 conference winners are very deserving of a CFP bid, and you had to leave one out, and they obviously left FSU out, who didn't have their quarterback. But I'm glad I'm glad this happened a little bit because it showed how dumb the whole model was, and I'm glad we're changing it because we won't have these conversations moving forward. Sure, we'll have debates. There'll be arguments about which 2 lost teams should get in, but you know what? When push comes to shove, that team lost 2 games, so if they don't get in, no one's going to be as upset as they are right now.
No, but this is bad. It's polarizing.
Let me tell you, Florida State fans, I have never seen a fan base more mad than this Florida State fan base this week.
Listen,
oh my gosh.
Florida State won the national championship in soccer. Nobody knows that. Hey, the same week, it's not even a Band-Aid to what happened
Hey,
why
Joseph.
you got to give the soccer team a stray?
Hey, they have a
They're watching.
Penske, right?
Yeah. Former
Brian
Tennessee head
Penske.
coach. He goes in his second year with the
Shout
program,
out.
wins a national championship. So good for Penske. It's
Yeah.
hard for the Lady Vols, but hey, it's a big time win for them.
Yeah, shout out Brian Penske. But yeah, Joseph, it is what it is, man. And I was going to say something I forgot. But anyway, Florida State got jobbed. That is how it's going to go. What's your national championship prediction, Joseph?
I think that video of Michigan finding out Alabama was their opponent was very telling.
It was
so
awesome.
I think Alabama is going to take down Michigan. And if I had to pick, Michigan is the one team I don't want to win because cheaters don't win, and they shouldn't win. And so that is the only reason I'd be rooting for Alabama over Michigan. But I think honestly, if I had to pick a winner based on who I want Washington to win out of the 4 teams. I think that it'll be between Alabama and Texas in the final, and I honestly think that Alabama will get their revenge.
Should we go around?
I'm taking Texas over Bama.
Boys in the fishbowl. What you got? Bryson, Justin, Riley.
I think I want to go Alabama over Washington.
Ooh. I want to make it clear I'm rooting for Washington.
I think we all are.
But I think Texas will win it.
Me too, and I'm going Washington over Bama.
Yes, sir, Justin.
Ooh, spicy. Okay.
Big.
Hey. All right. Yeah. Whoa. Hell, calm down.
I'm not gonna say what Desmond Howard said.
I'm riding with Bryson. I'm taking Bama Washington in the Natty, and I'm gonna say Nick Saban crawls back from whatever dark place he was in and takes that Natty right back.
It's sad, but I like Alabama over Texas.
Man, shame on y'all.
I do not think Saban loses the same team twice. I don't think it happens.
Very well. Joseph, tell me what's going on with the Titans this year. You haven't had a chance to.
You really want to open up this can of worms?
Just for a second, I just want to hear his thoughts on the season. We haven't had your chance. We haven't have a chance to hear what you think, how Will Levis has progressed this year. Just what's your take on this? Was it 4-9 Titans team right now? 4-8?
4-8.
4-8.
Soon to be 4-9.
Hey.
Soon to be 4-9. Yeah. So to me, the season is a wash. They just don't have the talent. You're starting. I don't know how many rookies. I think it's eight rookies on both sides of the ball combined. Most of your defensive starters, especially in the secondary, are undrafted free agents. Your offensive line is just a rotator. You might have found something in Jalen Duncan there at left tackle, getting rid of Andre Dillard, who for some reason you decided to pay way too much money to come in and be worse than Dennis Daly, which no one thought in Nashville thought that was even remotely possible. Will Levis was an absolute bright spot. Him coming in. He's kind of fallen off since his debut, but, you can't really compete with a 4-touchdown debut like he did. But he hasn't played bad. He's played pretty well. His completion percentage has dipped a little bit, but he hasn't really gotten a lot of help from his weapons. I know he's been dealing with some drops with a lot of his receivers, even from DeAndre Hopkins the last couple of weeks, who's usually pretty sure-handed, but has dropped a couple passes. I do like his chemistry with Hopkins, though, and the fact that Hopkins is on a 2-year deal. Will be here next year for Tennessee, assuming no offseason trades are made, which I don't believe there will be. And I think that'll be good for his development. But right now, the season's a wash. It's about getting Will Levis and Tyjae Spears and some of these younger guys, Jalen Duncan, Peter Skoronski, about getting these guys reps and about getting them experience so that going into year 2 next year, when they are the guys for Tennessee, that they're going to be well prepared. And I'm okay with that right now.
Yeah.
Now the question is whether or not what they decide to do with Mike Vrabel, because I know the conversation.
Well, he's coming back, right? I thought it was confirmed.
Well, the conversation around Nashville is that possibly Mike Vrabel could be fired at the end of the year because let me give you a scenario. Ken Wisenhunt, former Tennessee Titans head coach, 3-24, I believe. He went and was fired. Mike Vrabel in his last, or since the losing streak of last year, 4 for 20. He's on pace. He's on.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's on pace to hit that Wisenhunt number right there, which got Wisenhunt fired. So, and Amy Adams-Strunk, the Titans owner, has said she has confidence in. But remember, she also said she had confidence there in Mike Mularkey, who then won a playoff game and was fired the next year. So I don't really take that word very strongly, and especially in the NFL, which is definitely a production business. You got to put product and success up on the board if you want to keep your job. And right now, Mike Vrabel's not doing that. I would like to see him in one more full gear with Rand Carthon, and just to see what he can do with a better roster, because I do believe Mike Vrabel's a really good head coach. He just needs the roster behind him, and unfortunately, right now, they have a bottom 3 roster, in my opinion, in the NFL.
There you have it. Titans take from Joseph. Joseph, you want to stay on with us or the rest of the show, or are you leaving? What, you going to hang with us for the rest of the way, or should we let you go?
It's up to you. I mean, I was calling in because I heard it was my good buddy Jack Foster's last show on college radio, and I just wanted to tune in and be a part of that special moment.
Here, Joseph, let me give you this nugget. We're gonna take a break after the rest of this segment. Think about your favorite Jack take, and we're gonna go around the circle when we come back last segment. And we're gonna talk about some of our favorite Jack takes, because obviously he's been around the block a while. So how about you think about that? You come back, I'm sure you're gonna have the best one.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely can pull something out of my hat for that.
Let's go. All right. See you then. All right. Let's get back to the other things we were going to talk about as far as NFL goes. And
there's plenty.
I think we got to debate a little bit about the MVP award. And we were talking, before the show that we were going to have this debate. And I think it should be Tyreek Hill. And I know Riley's in my camp. But Justin and I believe Bryson are in another camp. So, Griffin, maybe you could be our tiebreaker here. But I'm going to give my spiel.
I'll be Switzerland.
In a year where there's no clear quarterback that is dominating and just playing head and shoulders above everyone else, like Mahomes did last year, like Rodgers did in his 2 seasons, like Lamar did, you name it. There's no quarterback like that this year. Purdy is playing great. He hasn't been perfect all year, but he's playing great with great weapons. And we know that the weapons make Purdy, not vice versa. Dak, slow start. Now he's dicing opponents up, but only at home and only against bad opponents that are 500 or below. So I don't think he's worthy of the award. Mahomes and Hurts, don't think they've done enough. It's got to be Tyreek Hill. He is the one who is completely changing his team for the better. The Dolphins would not be the Dolphins without Tyreek Hill. He's going to have 2,000 yards. He's going to have the best year wide receivers ever had in NFL history. He should be MVP.
Yeah. Riley, what's your backup to that?
Riley's on my side.
I know he is. I'm hearing the cases. I'm hearing the cases.
If you know me, you know I've been in the Tyreek Hill corner for a while. I've been in the Tyreek Hill corner for a couple of years now. And I think this year is my vindication. It's where you're seeing what I've been talking about, all this time. This is where Tyreek Hill has really burst onto the scene and established himself as the number 1 guy in the NFL. I think there's not a player more valuable to a winning team than Tyreek Hill is right now.
But listen,
he is by far and away the most valuable player to the Miami Dolphins, and is the reason for a lot of their success and the reason that they have a historically good offense. That it's Tyreek Hill. That's the answer. It's partially Mike McDaniels, sure, but the reason Mike McDaniels is able to do what he does, I would argue, is Tyreek Hill. Because of what he brings to that offense. If he gets that 2,000 yard mark, I don't think there should be a conversation. They should hand it to him then.
Listen, if Cooper Kupp didn't win it when he had the most receptions, most yards, and most touchdowns, he had the triple crown of all receivers. If he didn't win it then, I just don't see how Tyreek Hill can win it. It's unfortunate. The stuff he's doing is ridiculous.
But what Jack said, there was a quarterback that year that was dominant above everyone else.
We just don't like to talk about Dakota Rain Prescott as this elite quarterback, but he is pretty stinking good. Like, his brain's a supercomputer. He's an incredible leader. He's made every single pass that you want him to make this year. I've been waiting on this to call a quarterback's brain a supercomputer. I've had that one loaded.
He's had that one in the bag.
I've had it in the bag. I saved it for Jack's last night. But Dak, man, I mean, since that San Francisco game where he was really bad, don't get me wrong, he was really, really bad. But since then, that's like, I counted it up myself, so it might not be completely 1-for-1 true, but I think it's 23 touchdowns and 2 picks. It's ridiculous. He's beating who he's playing, Jack.
Look, man, I can't help it. Look, we talked about it before the show. Go out and beat the Eagles at home and have another great performance. then I'll start hearing you out. I tell you, if they win the division, I don't think they're winning the 1 seed because they have the same amount of losses as San Fran and obviously don't have tiebreaker. But if they win the division, then maybe I'll change my course. But I just don't know. I don't even think I've seen a player elevate a team like Tyreek has this year in a long time. That's not a quarterback. It's been since AP Vikings. I'm serious. Cup, yeah, he was great, but a lot of that was Stafford. More than anything, that was probably McVay of just being a mastermind and scheming all that up.
Yeah, dude.
Since
Why do
AP or maybe Derrick Henry. That's another good one.
Derrick, I see.
Those types of 2,000-yard seasons are just special.
I agree with you, but I think the reason why I do think it'll end up being Dak Prescott is because in those 2,000-yard seasons for Derrick Henry, like Justin just said with Cooper Kupp, when he broke the record, he still didn't win MVP. Now, I get there are other quarterbacks and stuff like that, but I do think, like you said, now Dak has to prove it over this next stretch. He has to. Now, but I'll say this: if they beat Philly and if they beat Miami, like if they beat those two teams, I think like now you can take away, and they're playing Buffalo too, so he has a chance, and Detroit. So like this is the stretch where he can prove it.
Yeah,
I think that right now, I think Dak Prescott is in a good spot because I do think right now he would be the front runner, and he has a gauntlet ahead of him where he could really have that MVP moment and where he could really like take it over. Because I still feel like even with Tyreek in the conversation, we can all agree that nobody is like the clear number one. Like I still think it's open. I still think it's open
fair.
over the rest of the weeks. So I think that out of anybody, I think Dak does have an opportunity, especially if he ends up putting the Cowboys, like you said, if they beat the Eagles and win the division, they probably won't be the 1 seed. But if they do that, I think you have to give him MVP just because of the way he's turned the season around too.
Well, so Dak has the advantage because he plays quarterback.
It is.
That's the thing.
And like you look at the odds,
so that's how it is, and that's
so.
So in these next 5 games, I think if the Cowboys win out or maybe lose one and Dak continues to play the way he's playing, it's probably his award, which is sad because Tyreek has not had a bad game this season. Like Justin talked about Dak Prescott, he did not play well against the 49ers. I bet you he will have a so-so game before the end of the season. Tyreek Hill has been a game changer the entire season. That's what I'm hearing from Riley and Jack, but like we talked about it on Cover 4, another plug. Go listen to our NFL podcast. It's great. Riley hosts. Great listen. But Tyreek Hill is playing so well that he had 1 catch in the second half last week. He was that impactful that the game was over against the Commanders, and he did that much damage early on. It's like he's in a Heisman race, and they're pulling him out of the game.
Listen, if I remember correctly, 5 receptions, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Absurd.
Yeah. That one catch in the second half, 5 yards, which means he had 4 for 152 and 2 touchdowns in the first half.
Yes, and I agree. Tyreek Hill is incredible, and he's going to win Offensive Player of the Year. That's what's going to happen. He's going to win Offensive Player of the Year, and he's going to deserve it.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
Dak Prescott deserves it so much more, though.
Listen, I'm telling you who's going to win.
I see what you
That's
did
what
there,
I'm saying. Yeah. I'm telling you, if Dak Prescott, dude, quarterbacks win the MVP.
Look,
that's
they do.
just how
They
it
do.
is in the NFL.
They do, but the conversation is
Bryson.
should he?
Yes. And you look at the odds. Tyreek's 7th. It's just not going to happen. And that's sad.
No.
We're just arguing what should happen. If we're talking about, I'm going to place my bets, I ain't betting Tyreek to win it because I know how it works, and it's a fraudulent award. But Tyreek should win it, and that's where I stand.
I don't think you like the star on Dak's helmet. I think that's the real issue here.
He's a Jags fan. He has nothing
I just
wrong.
don't like
There's
how
no
Dak
problem with the
falters
NFC
in
East.
big moments and has won, 2 playoff games? I just don't know.
It's a playoff reward now.
He's okay, maybe that doesn't matter, but still, Dak just has not become like the main guy to win these big games and big moments. He just hasn't done it. So
if he does in these last 5 games, okay, give him his flowers. Give him his flowers.
I also said this. Y'all brought up that game against the Commanders. Dak Prescott threw for 331 yards and 4 touchdowns against
you know
the
what?
Commanders
For argument's
too.
sake, let's just get rid of all games against Commanders because their defense is atrocious.
That's fair.
Cue the Taylor Jenkins meme. Those words describe the Commanders' defense this year. If you know the meme, shout out, but it's expletive than atrocious. Let's change the conversation for a second. Let's go to another award. Coach of the Year.
Ooh.
Now let's have a debate here.
I'm conflicted.
I'm going to kick it over to Riley. Riley, who's your pick to win Coach of the Year and why? Who do you think should win?
One quick question though. Marvin Harrison Jr. won the Biletnikoff. Was Malik Neighbors robbed?
Oh my gosh, no, I don't care.
Was he robbed? I think
No.
he was. Malik Neighbors.
Whatever,
was
man. It's Marvin Harrison. He's been the best receiver in college last 2 years overall, and Jalen won it last year, rightfully so. Fine, give it to Marvin this year. Who cares?
Boo.
Jaden's gonna get the Heisman. Doesn't matter.
Boo.
LSU will be fine.
Talking about coaches.
But for my coach of the year pick right now, I'm feeling Matt LaFleur. I might be caught up in the love mania going on in Green Bay. But I might be in love with
caught up in love.
Might be caught up in love, But Matt LaFleur, what he's done with this Green Bay offense, once these guys have gotten a little more reps, you think about how young that offense is. You've got 2 rookie tight ends that are getting most of the snaps, 3 first or second year wide receivers, or 4 first or second year wide receivers getting most of the snaps, and Jordan Love, who is starting his first real season. Think about how young that offense is, and they have just kind of come into their own over the past few weeks. And all of a sudden, the Matt LaFleur offense, early in the season, we're talking about maybe on the hot seat. All of a sudden, it looks like one of the best in the NFL. So for that reason, for what is finally coming to light with that Matt LaFleur offense that we haven't seen all year, not because of Matt LaFleur, but because of the young players he has making mistakes, I think now we're starting to see Matt LaFleur might be quietly coaching some really great football.
I think Matt LaFleur is solidly in the 4 hole.
Okay, who's your top 3?
Dan Campbell, who was my pick preseason.
All right.
Shane Steichen and D'Amico Ryans. And the reason why I think LaFleur has to be behind, especially Ryans and Steichen, is because those guys are a game ahead of the Packers, have been more consistent than the Packers, and they're in their first year. And those 2 teams were predicted to win 4 or 5 games the entire season, and now they're 7-5.
So are the Packers.
What Shane Steichen has done in Indianapolis, when your number 4 overall pick goes down, you're playing a backup QB, your defense is not great, and you're 7-5 sitting in the playoff race with a team who had Jeff Saturday as the coach this time last year, losing 7 in a row, the team that had a dark, dark future. It just seems that as a first-year head coach, man, he flipped the ship around in Indianapolis.
I think that defense was always better than what it was given credit for, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
They just have to deal with people like Carson Wentz playing quarterback on the other side.
Also true. Listen, I like Riley's pick. I think if Green Bay wins out, your take is really good.
Oh,
because
huge.
if they go 11-6 after being 2-5,
Yes.
I'm completely
Oh,
cool
yeah.
with giving LaFleur the award. I like Ryans more than Steichen.
Yeah.
Because the Texans have been more dominant, it feels like, than the Colts have. I like Dan Campbell a lot, but my problem with Coach of the Year, and it's why Kyle Shanahan didn't win and Brian Daboll did last year, it feels like every year, or not every year, there's obviously years this doesn't happen. A lot of times, we give it to the coach that is coaching a team that has improved the most.
Yeah, it's the team you don't expect.
Not
That's why
the
I
right.
had Matt Eberflus.
It's like giant. Yeah, it's like Matt Nagy when the Bears were good because they had Khalil Mack wrecking people, and he was Coach of the Year. It's Brian Daboll last year because the Giants went from 4 wins to like 10. But John Harbaugh is this year's Kyle Shanahan, and the Ravens look like they're in great position to get the 1 seed. They're certainly going to win their division. Their defense has been playing lights out. Their offense, despite lack of good talent, frankly, at running back since they lost JK in week 1, and at wide receiver has been much better than it was last season. Part of that's because Lamar has stayed healthy, and Lamar, hasn't been perfect, but it's been better. I just think when you look at those Ravens season,
That's great.
I think Johnny Baugh should get it. I think John Harbaugh should get the award.
Give some vets some love.
Exactly, man. And that's who I would vote for. I get the Dan Campbell probably more than anybody right now. I get why he's the odds-on favorite. But I'll go John Harbaugh because I think what the Ravens have done this year is really impressive in a very difficult AFC.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dan Campbell because because he's doing it on the Lions.
Yeah.
Because, dude, I think I was just looking at it. This will be, if they win their 10th game, this will be the second time this century they've won 10 games in the season. You know what I mean? Like they're doing it for a team that has been in the gutter forever.
Yep.
Right. So, and I think that the fact that they stuck with him when they did start the season really bad, and I think started the season 0-10 or something one of those years, and they've still kind of stuck with him, and he's brought the team around, and he's finally came in and gotten the guys that he likes in there. I think he's turned around Jared Goff's career as well. Like the way that is completely turned around. I bet if you asked Rams fans now, I know they won the Super Bowl, but if they could redo it right now, I bet they'd want Jared Goff right now too. Yep. So I think that Dan Campbell should be the favorite just because he's doing it on the Lions.
Justin, real quick, we gotta get to break. But
you said Kyle Shanahan. Well, you said whatever about Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
This year's Kyle Shanahan is Kyle Shanahan, dude. They're 9-3. They've beaten up on all these great teams. It should be Kyle Shanahan.
Okay, I can get down with that too.
There's a lot of good
continuing
coaches.
to, roll with Mr. Relevant. I'll give him Coach of the Year every single year for what they've been able to do. But we're going to take a very quick break here on Rock Solid Sports. When we come back, we're going to bring Joseph back on, have some fun. Who knows what's going to happen? But all I know is we're going to have some fun. It's our last 10 minutes together this semester. So we'll be back after this quick break.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. allvols.com. Student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, go Lady Vols.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allballs.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Base Vols good luck on the diamond this season.
Hi, this is Derek and Rob from the Funhouse. It was brought to our attention that our show and the things that we do could be seen as childish and not funny, sophomoric, vapid, stupid, and a complete and utter waste of time.
We strive to bring you the most entertaining radio that we're capable of each and every week.
So won't you please continue to support us and the station? Tune in every Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. only on 90.3 The Rock. The Funhouse, syphilis free since 2013.
Stop by the Funhouse Friday nights from 8 till 10 only on 90.3 The Rock.
The Funhouse is proudly sponsored by Raven Records and Rarities and Happy Holler, providing Knoxville with vinyl and more for nearly 40 years. And by ScruffyCity.com, your downtown destination.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into Rock Solid Sports, the Friday night edition of Rock Solid Sports. We got about 7 minutes left before the Funhouse guys take over. I'm your host, Jack Foster, joined alongside Griffin Hadley. We got Riley Haltom in the house. We got Justin Clemmer. We got my good friend Bryson Wright making his return probably just for a one-off. And we also got Joseph Bonanno on the phone. Joseph, we still have you, right?
You got me loud and clear, buddy.
All right. And as it's already been established tonight, it is my final show. I've been rocking with Rock Solid Sports for, 2.5 years now. I came in the fall of 2021. Still remember first meeting Joseph and Jackson. My first show was, I believe, Jason Wyrick, Devin Hoke, Jackson Williams. So that was an intriguing group we had that night, but it's been a ton of fun. I made some of my bestest friends all throughout college so far with Rock Solid Sports. So it's the best student media organization on campus. I will tell anybody that. In fact, when Griffin DM'd me on Instagram and said, hey, I want to pick your brain, let's go to lunch, I told him, hey, Rock Solid Sports is the place to be. So thank you guys for being on my final show. It's been great. And yeah, man, it's hard to believe it's over.
It's fun. And like Jack said, I mean, just as a student athlete in journalism, I wanted to get involved. It was so difficult, but Jack was such a big help and was like, hey, this is what you need to do, and you need to come on the Monday show as it was last year because and for a full semester, Joseph, Jack, and I, chopped it up and had some good times last year, and it's just been a blast this year as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around and talk about some of our favorite Jack moments because he's been around a long time. He's done a lot. Talk about working for Omaha Productions, Rocky Top Insider, Sports Illustrated, you name it. He's done it here on campus. Talk about a guy who's made an impact on student media at the University of Tennessee. So we also have some moments. We have some moments to talk about. So guys in the fishbowl, I'm going to throw it to you. I don't care who goes first, but I know you guys got some gems over there as far as Jack Foster moments on air.
Yeah, so I think my favorite one is always going to be on our Cover 4 podcast. It's my favorite clip from our Cover 4 podcast ever. It was when we were arguing Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill. And it was Riley and it was Jack going against each other.
It was great.
And, Riley was on the Tyreek side, and Jack was on, of course, the side of Justin Jefferson, which, not to say it was a bad take, because I was on the Justin Jefferson side at the time as well. I think injuries, all that. But my favorite part is that whenever Jack gets flustered in an argument, he just starts going like, like he doesn't really say words. And he kind of just did that because, right? Like, I don't know. He doesn't really know what to say. And I think that was like my favorite moment, like of us doing Rock Solid and doing the Cover 4 podcast. And I just remember that clip being like my favorite one that we ever did.
Man.
Mine is also from the Cover 4 podcast. Me, Riley, Jack, and Griffin in the next door. Jack kind of made fun of himself a little bit. We were talking about Josh Dobbs, and it got to a point where Jack said, people say I've been a fan of Josh Dobbs, been imitating him my whole life. And then I'm the only one in there laughing. And he's talking about his eyebrows this whole time. It was so funny. And then when everyone got it, it was just ruckus.
Oh, yeah, because, for those listening, I don't have eyebrows, basically. I have very light colored eyebrows, hard to see.
Yeah, you can't see them on the stream.
I can't believe I was the only one who got that, right up.
Oh man. All right. I'm gonna go a little bit more serious with mine. When I got here on campus, right, I'm looking for a way to get into sports media. And Jack is the one that he was the guy over at the volunteer channel, the Sports Contact. And he was the one that got me into that. And then, after a semester there, he's training me to be a sports producer to take over for him. He kind of moves on from TVC and he says, hey, come over here, try WTK. And he did that as well. So I went over to WTK and tried that with him. And, you took me out to Fieldhouse Social to do the remote with you that first time. And man, it's just, Jack has been such a mentor for me here at Tennessee. And, I just appreciate what you've done for me and what you've done for student media here.
I appreciate that, man. And Riley, I feel like you're always the one I'm disagreeing with most. So just
100%.
know that whenever we get into these spats on air, it's always all love, brother. You've been such a great friend. And I think Joseph, who's probably going to go next, can attest. That year when you first came into Rock Solid, we were sending you to Fieldhouse every week, and you were such a G holding down the fort at the remote. So appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate Riley being our Fieldhouse guy in his first year. My favorite Jack moment would be when we went down to Hoover to cover the Tennessee Vols as they went and eventually won the SEC tournament, the Tennessee Baseballs, that is. And Jack and I stand in an Airbnb together. And the games just keep getting rained out over and over again. And Jack and I decide to hop in his car and go chase down the team as they're playing at one of their bench players.
Grant Sherry, man.
Grant
Tennessee
Sherry.
legend.
We would go in the pouring rain to watch these guys play a scrimmage at this random high school in the middle of nowhere in Hoover, Alabama. And I remember that. I also remember on that trip, Jack having to go and buy a $200 Chromebook because he forgot his laptop.
Wow.
And having to use that the entire trip. And then he went and he gave it to, I think you gave it to a friend or a family member or something like that.
Dude, I sold it to my brother. I sold it to my brother for $100.
That's right. The Chromebook will forever live in Rock Solid history as being one of the funniest things and one of the coolest experiences I had with Jack. But the Chromebook and chasing down the Vols all around Hoover as they went to do some mysterious scrimmaging during a rain delay. That was it. Jack, just before I pass it on to Griffin, I was just say thanks for everything you've done. I know I kind of took you under my wing when you joined, and we got really close. And I'm glad to have met you and made a lifelong best friend there. And I know wherever you go after you graduate, you're going to do great things.
Hey, I appreciate that, buddy.
Big things.
Means a lot.
And like you said, Joseph, how you took Jack under your wing. Jack's really taken me under his wing, and I could not be happier to live it out, to host next semester. And my favorite moment is just the banter with Jack in this studio at Cool Beans last year. I know assistant listeners are both my parents and Jack's parents, and my parents are always like, man, who's the ginger that just gets fired up? You guys have the best banter. And that's what I think about every time. And I'm just so thankful to be on here with you.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot, guys. I don't know what to say, but thank you. And thank you to Benny Smith, Rock Solid Sports, WTK, man. It has been a great 2.5 years here doing Rock Solid Sports. And man, I graduate a week from today, so let's get it. Anyway,
let's go.
That is going to do it for the final Rock Solid Sports of the semester. As Griffin said earlier, or maybe you didn't, he'll be hosting the show next semester, so be sure to stay tuned for all Rock Solid Sports next year too. Until then, see you guys. Peace out.
Nice.
Without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded.